So we've all heard teachers tell us that we need to listen to music. You got to listen. Listening is so important. And other musicians will say, you got to listen, you got to listen. But I found that really they'll tell you to do it, but they don't really tell you very often how to do it. In this video, I'm going to share with you my 20-step process to develop your listening skills so you can get the most out of your favorite jazz recordings, the most enjoyment and the most knowledge from those recordings, as well as to help you be as focused and present as possible while performing live at your gigs. So one thing about listening skills is I believe that they're a separate skill set than ear training, what traditionally is described as ear training. So this is something that's different from being able to hear intervals and hear chords and hear scales. All those things are very, very important, but that's a separate skill than just being a good listener. And no matter how good your ears are in the ear training sense, it doesn't really matter. Being a good listener is a separate thing. So whether or not you understand every chord or every interval, it doesn't make a difference between whether you're getting the most and really enjoying the recordings that you're hearing and being present when you're playing with other musicians and really listening to what they play. So here we go. I'm going to go through these 20 steps that you can follow to really develop these listening skills. So like I said, so you can really get the most of your favorite recordings, and so you can really be present and focused and aware when you're playing with other musicians. All right, here's step one. The first thing is to just decide what area you're trying to develop in your playing, or which area you want to develop your listening skills within. So that could be a song, a tune, an artist, a style, an album. It really doesn't matter. It's some sort of area. I think for this video, we're going to use the area of like learning a song, a new tune, because it's easy to demonstrate what I'm talking about. So that's the first thing. Once you decide your area, your song, say we'll pick Autumn Leaves. Then we'll go on to step number two. And for step number two, really simple, and this is the most basic thing, is to go through your streaming service or whatever recordings you have and find as many versions of that song that you can that you actually enjoy. Okay, ignore the ones you don't like and just make a playlist of all those recordings that you enjoy. That's step two. The next step, step three, is something I think that a lot of people do already. Once you have this playlist of this song, maybe there's 10, 20 versions of the song, 10, 20 of your favorite versions of the song, just play that playlist all the time. Put it in your headphones when you're walking down the street, when you're going to get food, have it playing around your house when you're doing dishes. Just have it playing. Don't even really worry about how hard you're listening to it. Just have it on, just to sort of build a baseline awareness of that song and let it sort of seep into your subconscious. But don't really worry about it too much. And I think this is the level of listening that we're most commonly at, and if we haven't thought about developing our listening skills before, probably most of the time we're just listening sort of in the background, and that's great. But by the fact that you have a playlist, and it's sort of on a specific area, that's gonna just in and of itself focus your attention a little bit more on in that area. So you have this tune, many versions playing as you go throughout your day. Now we'll go on to step four. Step four: simply pick one track, one recording, your favorite one, hopefully, that you're going to really use to hone in your listening skills. And you're really going to focus on listening to this one single track. So that's step four. Now, step five. This is what I call musical meditation. So what we're going to do here is simply throw on the recording, maybe with headphones or with some nice speakers, and sit down and just only listen to this recording. Nothing else, just let it play. Now, I know this sounds kind of trivial, but in modern society, we have so many notifications on our phone, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all these things. Sometimes it's hard to just sit down and be focused for the entirety of a song. But for this step, for step five, just play the song and simply listen to it. Just sit there and listen to the song all the way through. Maybe it's 4, 5, 6 minutes, whatever it is. I mean, you pick the song, just listen to it all the way through. And as you're listening, just simply let your mind go wherever it wants to within the music. Maybe it's listening to a saxophone, or maybe your mind drifts, oh, there's a cool bass line or a drum groove. Let your mind go where it wants to go within the recording. But what I think you'll notice will happen as you're doing this process is you'll start thinking about something else. Inevitably, you'll probably start thinking about maybe you're hungry, Maybe there was a cute girl you saw on the street. Maybe you're thinking about an argument you had with your mom or something like that. But inevitably, a thought will pop up into your brain not related to the music. When that happens, and this is the musical meditation part, simply bring your focus back to the song. Okay, whatever it be, the bass line, it doesn't matter where it goes. As long as it's related to the song, focus your attention there. In this process of bringing your attention from whatever you were listening to, whatever you're thinking about, this like maybe it was the food or the girl or whatever it was, when you notice that you have that thought and you bring it back to the song, that's where you strengthen your focus muscle and your listening skill. It's in that moment. So it's nothing to be frustrated about. When you notice yourself thinking, wow, that's the moment where you're actually developing your skill of listening. So, okay, I noticed myself thinking, now let's go back to the song. Okay, and then we let it go, let it play, and eventually at some point, you're gonna start thinking about something else again. Always happens. Bring your focus back. And that's the moment where you start to really train this listening skill. Okay, that's step 5. Now, let's move on to step number 6. And this is where we're going to bring our focus in and our listening in to the next level. Okay, so we've spent some time listening to the song all the way through. And we can repeat any one of these steps as many times as possible, but at least we've listened to the song one time all the way through. This time, we're going to pick an instrument, and let's pick the lead line, the melody line, or the soloist. And so this time, as we listen to the song, we're only going to listen to, or I shouldn't say only, we're going to focus most of our attention on the lead instrument. So we're listening to, say it's a saxophone recording, we'll listen to the saxophone play the melody, and then we'll listen to the saxophone solo, and maybe it goes to a piano solo, and then a bass solo, and a drum solo, and the saxophone plays the melody again. And we're just going to focus on that lead line, that lead melody or the lead solo. And whenever our attention goes to maybe what we had for breakfast, being hungry, that girl on the street, the argument we had with our parents, whatever, we bring our attention back to the lead line. Or maybe our attention goes to the drummer or the bass or to another instrument, the piano. When that happens, we just bring our attention, shift it back to the lead line. And every time something goes away, just shift it back, shift it back. That's the musical meditation. And we're really developing our listening skills at this point. So the next few steps, that was step 6, it's the same sort of thing, but we're just going to go through every different instrument in the recording. So maybe if it's a saxophone quartet, it's saxophone, piano, bass, drums. So we're going to listen through the whole track 4 times, each time focusing on a different instrument. So we just listened all the way through to the saxophone. Next time, we're going to go back and repeat the same process, but focus 100% of our attention on the piano. So we're going to listen for the whole 6 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it is, and just focus on what the piano is doing. Don't need to do anything more, but just focus your attention towards the piano. And whenever it moves away from the piano to our distraction, to what we had for dinner or lunch, or that fight with our parents, we move our attention back to the piano. And maybe we think about the saxophone for a minute, we focus on that, we bring it back to the piano. Back to the piano for the whole entire duration of our song. And now we're really getting an idea of what's going on in this tune. I've heard it a bunch of times, and we're really training our listening skills. So the next step will be the same thing. We'll do the same with the bass. We'll listen to the whole recording, and we'll focus our attention on every single bass note played. If it's quarter notes, every single quarter note, we want to keep our attention there and be listening for each and every quarter note for the whole entire 6 minutes. And it's easier, this process, when you're dealing with the melody line, the lead line, because it's the thing we tend to focus on anyways. But when we're dealing with just the bass line, maybe it'll be a little bit more challenging for those of us that aren't bass players. So, but because it's more challenging, that means we're getting more out of it. We're developing our listening skills further. So when you're focusing on the bass line, despite the distractions of the piano and the saxophone and what you had for breakfast and your fight with your parents and all those other things, just always go back to the bass line, back to the bass line, back to the bass line. And then the last time through, we do the drums, same thing. And the drums are awesome because they're a little bit more complex. You know, there's different instruments within a drum set. There's a kick drum and a ride cymbal, you know, a hi-hat, toms, and all those things. So what you can do is listen to the entire piece of music and focusing just on the overall drum set. Whatever drum hits happen, if you notice the snare, you notice the bass, you notice the ride cymbal, wherever your attention goes, as long as it's with the drums, that's cool for this. And then once you do that, you can get even more specific, where you listen to the whole entire recording and you only focus on the snare drum, say. And that's a great thing, you know, the comping patterns on the snare drum. Or maybe you focus just on the ride cymbal, or just the hi-hat, or just the kick drum. And drummers, you know, when they're listening, they're listening in this way. But those of us that are not drummers, it's a really good practice to isolate the drum set and listen to one thing at a time. So that's that step. Okay, so next we have, would be, I guess, step 11 in the process. From here, now that we've listened to each instrument individually, we're going to pick combinations. And we can listen to every different combination of instruments together. So maybe the first time we'll pick the lead line, the melody, the solo, and the piano. So your attention is focusing on those two. And when we're doing this, we're trying to hear how each one relates to each other. And when they line up, when they don't line up, who plays what when. Just being aware that they're playing at the same time, and how do they relate, if at all, or if they don't relate. And then from there, we just pick a different combination. So one that I really like to practice listening with is the ride cymbal with the bass. We listen very carefully to those two together and are focusing our attention just on those two. Ride cymbal, bass, and hearing how they connect up and how they lock up and what the difference is, and just being aware of them, those two instruments playing together, and focusing our attention in on those two pieces. And then maybe we could do from there we could maybe do the piano with the snare drum. So we're listening to when those piano comping hits, when they maybe align with the snare drum and when they don't, or just being aware of them happening together, or just listening to them while we listen to the song and focusing our attention on those. The same thing with all of this stuff is when our attention goes somewhere else, we just bring it back. And each time we bring it back, that's strengthening our listening muscles and our focus muscles in our mind. So that would be, I guess we can say, levels 12 and 13. And now we'll go on to level 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. This is all kind of similar to that, but we're really going to go to the next level in the focus. So it's great to be able to train our listening skills and really listen many times to a recording to really develop our awareness of that recording. But at the end of the day, we're musicians and we're jazz musicians, and we want to not only be able to listen, but we also want to be able to play too. And when you're playing jazz, you also need to be listening to jazz at the same time as you play it. So these next few steps will help us train that ability to listen very carefully in a focused way while we're actually playing. So here's what I like to do to train this aspect. So what I'll do is I'll take the song that I'm working on here, and I'm gonna play the melody. And at this point, I'm gonna assume that we really know the melody very, very well. So say if it's Autumn Leaves or Confirmation or whatever it is, Anthropology, I find bebop heads work really, really great. You know it so well that you're not gonna make any mistakes. You can do it blindfolded. You really, really know it. And the reason why you have to really, really know the melody is so once you know it, then you can bring your attention outside of yourself to the other instruments. Okay, and that's when you're really focused and you're really paying attention and you're really being part of the music. So say it's Autumn Leaves, we know the melody. So what we're gonna do for this step is we're gonna play the melody while doing the previous steps that I just talked about. So we're gonna play the melody, and as we're playing the melody along with the recording, we're going to listen to each of those instruments. So listening to the melody. So we're playing the melody and we're listening to the melody on the recording. And then where it gets interesting is when we get into the solos. And then we're playing the melody and then we're listening to the soloist. And this is really, really great because you're focusing your attention on the soloist. And then also you can sort of lock in your sense of rhythmic feel with the soloist. And you can sort of play the melody in a way that fits with how the soloist feels the music. So you're really listening, but also playing with. And then from there, the same process. You can go through it, play the melody, and listen to an instrument the whole way through. So next, we can play the melody and listen to the piano. So really hearing how the piano accompanies us while we play the melody throughout this whole song. So the soloist is still going on in the recording, but you're playing the melody. And hearing the chords and the rhythm and really focusing in on the piano. Next thing is the bass. So we'll play the melody, and as we play the melody, we're focusing our attention 100% on the bass. Every single bass note, our attention is right there with it, and we're really focused, and we're playing the melody. And we're making sure our melody really, really connects up and really locks up with the bass line as it's played on the recording. And then from there, we can go on, the same thing, but with the drums. And it's great to do this with a bebop head or something quicker, so you can really lock in how you play the melody over and over again throughout this recording. with the drums, with the ride cymbal, for instance. So you're playing along with, say, a Charlie Parker recording, Anthropology or something, and you're playing the melody over and over again throughout the whole 6 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it is. And as you're playing the melody, you're 100% focused on the ride cymbal or the drum set. So and I find that being able to play the melody, but you focus your attention outside of yourself onto the other instruments, and especially focusing it out one at a time for an extended period of time for the full 5-6 minutes, whatever it is, it really helps to train your focus and especially your time feel and how you feel music. So now there's another way to do this whole thing that you can also try if maybe the melody doesn't quite work, or maybe you don't know the melody or something like that. You can also do it with quarter notes. So if you're a guitar player, this works awesome. You can just strum quarter notes throughout the whole duration of the piece of music, and then listen to each instrument, each time. One time through the melody, one time through the piano, one time through the bass, one time through the drums. But you're just playing quarter notes the whole time, but focusing your attention on those different instruments. Okay, so that brings us up through steps 18. And now I have 2 more steps here on how to bring your listening skills to the next level and really incorporate the things that you've learned from this recording into your playing sort of in a more direct way. And these are the things that are talked about more in school. But the number 19 is to transcribe some small parts of the music, some small phrases, whether it be comping rhythms or whether it be like a drum fill or usually a solo lick, those kind of things. Just get small little 1 to 2 bar phrases, or maybe just even 4 to 8 notes, and then really get them into your playing and maybe write them down, analyze them. That's another way to really focus your listening on just one small portion of music. Don't worry about the whole solo, just one little section, 1 or 2 bars, and bring that into your playing. And then from there, what you can do, this is step 20, the final step, is to transcribe the whole entire solo that you're working on, or the whole entire thing that your concept or idea, whatever it is. Let's just say solo for now. Transcribe the whole entire solo, and then repeat all those steps that I just talked about with this solo. So you transcribe the solo, you learn it note for note, and you learn it so well that once you know it now, you can practice your focus and your listening skills while playing the solo at the same time. So if you transcribe, say, a Charlie Parker solo, you can play the solo, but focusing your attention on the ride cymbal, but for one whole time or multiple times, and then play the solo again. Focus it on the drums, focus it on the bass, focus on the piano. And so it's like you're playing this complicated material that you know so well, but you're training your focus. And that's the most important thing, because when we're playing with other people, especially with jazz, we need to be able to listen and stay focused and stay present. So, and I believe that these steps will really help anyone that wants to develop their listening skills and their focus skills. And I really believe it will help you bring your playing to the next level. So good luck, and I'll see you on the gig.